This is the famous Stela C at Quirigua. It was put up in the year 775, and it commemorates a time period ending. At the very top, you can see that the hieroglyph fills a huge square, 4 times as big as the other hieroglyphs. That's called the Initial Series Introductory Glyph. And the Initial Series Introductory Glyph basically says, this is a date. The first glyph after it, I don't know if you can see, but there's 3 dots and 2 bars on it. And those 3 dots and 2 bars represent the number 13. The character next to that 13 is a bird with a hand on its lower jaw, and that represents the word Baktun, or a 400-year period. So it's 13 times 400 years. The next glyph next to it shows a bird with a very complicated glyph that has a hand in it. That's a number 0. So that's 13 Baktuns, 0 Katuns. A Katun is a 20-year period. The next glyph down has another 0, and it's the word year. So it's 1300. The next one, it shows the toad. I'm not sure if you can see that the toad glyph, a very distinctive head that's sort of more squarish than the other heads. The toad glyph is preceded by a flower, which also represents 0. And then the next glyph after that is again the hand holding the spiral. That's the word day. And the character is a monkey head, which is a form of the word day. So it says 130000, which is 0 days, 0 months, 0 years, 0 katuns, and 400 times 13 years. That is the date of creation. The date of creation was in 3114 BC, and the character to the right in the 3rd row of glyphs has a number 4 on it, and it has the head inside. It looks like kind of like a television set. And that head is the word Lord. The Lord glyph tells us that the date is 4 Ahau, and that 4 Ahau is the date of the creation of this universe, and it corresponds to a date in August of 3114 BC. That 4 Ahau is the end date of all creation cycles. In the Aztec creation cycles, all of the 5 creations of the Aztecs end in 4s. And it's kind of like saying the 4th day of the month or the 4th day of the week, but it's odd to me that the ending of the date should not be on a 13 or a 0 or a 1. In any case, the day sign after the 13 is here, and it's the number 8. That's the month Kumku, and it's the 8th day of the month Kumku. So the date 4 Ahau, 8 Kumku, is the creation date for this universe. It was about 5,123 years ago, and in 2 years, 5,125 years after creation, it'll be 4 Ahau, 3 Kankin, and the date will be 130000 again. And that is why people say the world will end in December 21st of 2012, because that's the Maya date, 4 Ahau, 3 Kankin, 130000. Right now we're in the year 12, 19, 18, something. And we're quickly coming to the closure date, when the date is the same date as it was in the beginning of creation. The interesting thing that this monument tells us is that the creation day, the event that they commemorate on this creation day, was the first event of the building of the universe. And the metaphor for building a universe was the metaphor of building a house. And the first thing you do when you build a house is you make a place to cook. And they call it the placing of the 3 stones, or the building of the hearth. Because when a Maya builds a house, they scoop out a little hole in the ground, they put 3 stones about this big around the hole, they put a flat griddle on top, and they cook tamales or tortillas or whatever on top of the hot stone with the flame underneath it. And it tells us who put the stones up. It starts with this glyph here. It says, "It was put in order." It then says 3 stones were tied. Tied means wrapped up. And every Maya ceremony involved wrapping and unwrapping of objects. It was sort of like an unveiling, shall we say. But it says the 3 stones were tied, and that's the end of the first sentence. The next sentence begins, U Sabah, which means it was planted. And then it tells us who did the planting. First it tells us what was planted. This is the word for stone. And this guy here is called the jaguar paddler. It's a man with no teeth. He's got spots of jaguar on his chin, probably not visible anymore. But his brother here is also a paddler. This guy paddles the back of the canoe, this guy paddles the front of the canoe, or sometimes it's vice versa. And the jaguar paddler's brother is called the stingray spine paddler. And you can see this old man also missing his teeth, his lower jaw is sticking out, and he's got a big shiny stingray spine sticking through his nose. Just like a bone in the nose of an African cannibal in some Tarzan movie. These two brothers paddle the canoe that takes the dead across the waters of the underworld and into the underworld. They sink the canoe. And so these two brothers placed the first stone. It then says where they placed it. It happened at the house of Five Sky. The Five Sky house is perhaps a celestial level. It might represent the path of the moon or something like that. It might be somewhere in the Milky Way. We don't know. But the Five Sky house was the place where the first stone was put, and they named the stone. This hieroglyph here with the 3 dots in it is the eye of a jaguar. And it says the jaguar throne stone. So the paddler gods planted the first stone, the jaguar throne stone, at Five Sky house. It then tells us the next one. It says he planted the stone, and then it tells us the name of the next god. This god's got a very peculiar name. We don't know much about him. His name is Black House Red something. That's the name of the god. And so the Black House Red god, or the Black House Great god, because the word red and great are the same, chalk. He has lots of shiny teeth like a snake. He has a fancy earring. But he placed this, he placed his stone in this place, which has something to do with banners, something to do with flags. And the place that he put it is somewhere in the sky, and it is the snake throne stone. Stone glyph is very easy to recognize. It has a hook over the top. It actually represents a cave. It has some little dots on the top which represent stalactites. Stalactites. And this drop at the bottom here is a pool of water, or maybe a stalagmite. But this is the hieroglyph for stone. And this underneath the stone is the confirmation of the reading tun, which is the Maya word for stone. So the jaguar throne stone was planted by this guy, the Black House Red guy. Then the third stone. Instead of the word planting, it says it was tied up. That is to say, the same hieroglyph we saw at the very top where the 3 stones were tied. It says the third stone was tied by this god. And his name is Lizard House, or something like that. Itsam Na. And we have a sort of reptilian face here, although Itsam Na is usually portrayed as a human being. He can transform into a bird. There's a very distinctive headdress with flowers hanging off of it, and this is the word house attached to it. So house, and then Itsam Na. I should mention that I'm a teacher at Southwestern College in Chula Vista, California, and our library has this emblem because Itsam Na is the god of learning. And we carved it 12 feet high across the facade 13 or 14 times. And so we have an 84-foot facade with Itsam Na repeated across the front. The text goes on. It goes on to say that he planted the water throne stone. So there's a stone dedicated to the realm of the sea, a stone dedicated to the realm of the forest, and another one dedicated to the earth. And so we have the snake throne stone, the jaguar throne stone, and the shark or water throne stone. So those are the 3 stones of creation. It says he placed this at the edge of the sky. There's the hieroglyph for sky, is the word for edge. And then it says the new, and there's 3 stones here, the new 3-stone place. So he placed at the edge of the sky the new 3-stone place. So this is the creation text. We're almost finished. It happened on this is the number 3, 2 bars, and the word Baktun, the 400-year period. So this is the same thing. It's saying it happened at the end of the 13th Baktun. And then there was an overseer. This is a hieroglyph that you see where one king makes another king do something, or a subordinate king does something. And the overseer of this whole business was the Lord we call 6. There's number 5 and a bar for the bar, and the dot for the 5, and the dot is 6. Sixth Sky Lord. So Sixth Sky Lord oversaw the planting of the three stones, and the place where they were placed is in this text. This is a monument that tells us the most complete story of creation we have in a Maya stone text. It gives us the date for how it come to, it tells where the stones were placed, it tells us who put them there, and the reason that it emphasizes the stone part of the text is that this is a stone itself, and when you erect a stone in the earth, you use the word plant, and it uses the same words as they used to plant the three throne stones. So this was actually considered to be a kind of a mimic or an echo of the stones of creation. So when a Maya monument put a stone like this up in the sky, or in the earth, he was mimicking the planting of stones of the creation itself. And in fact, this monument itself has a picture of a guy holding, I believe, a bar across his chest with the heads of snakes, and its mate has a guy in the same position holding, that's Stela A, it's not in this museum. It shows a king holding across his chest a bar with jaguars. So the three stones, the jaguar stone, the snake stone, and the shark stone are the three stones of creation. And this represents one of those three stones. And its mate, which was set up not far from it, Stela A, is the second of the stones, and the third was standing in front of them. So A, B, and C formed the first three monuments of representing creation in Quirigua. And this happened again and again. The Maya kings celebrated their kingship by erecting creation monuments. It's sort of like every church is the home of God, is the home of Jesus, if you will. Every mosque is the place where Allah comes down and connects with us. Every Buddhist temple is a sacred spot. These stelae were also creation monuments, connecting the people in that place with their creation myth.